y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Sarah. I make kitchen, garden, and a whole bunch of lifestyle content. Today, I am starting a new series about HRT. What it is, why I'm on it, how I got on it, the long ass journey I had to take to figure out what was wrong with me, how I'm doing now, about a month or so in. Basically, it's the first video of a series that will last for a long time, but it's also a video that I wish I had found. So if you like this, you find that it helps you, maybe consider giving it a thumbs up. The algorithm really seems to like that. And if you want to see more of them or more of me, consider subscribing. I upload weekly. I'll leave timestamps in the description below if you want to skip around to anything specific. Totally get it. But to start, let's begin with what HRT is. There are several videos out there from specialists, medical professionals that can go in depth about what specific hormone does what and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So if you want to know that, feel free to check them out. A few that I really love. I love Dr. Sarah Gottfried. She's a Harvard and MIT medical grad, and she's dedicated basically her entire professional life to this in some way, shape, or form. She's a functional medical doctor, or precision care, as she likes to call it. Another one is Dr. Barbara Taylor. She's also known as Menopause Barbie. She has like a whole menopause university on YouTube. She's a wealth of knowledge on that. But high level, HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. Why I'm on it? So I got diagnosed recently after an absolutely ridiculous amount of time and effort spent trying to be taken seriously from doctors. And I got diagnosed with perimenopause, low thyroid, and low testosterone. So this is a very long story that I'm going to try my best to keep punchy, but it's one of those things where I kind of need to keep some of the length in because I know how much, and I'm going to talk this through, I know how much I blamed on other things because we don't talk enough about women's health, period. Like, end of story. So let's start with when I started noticing things were wrong, and I'll start with the number one thing that women notice about themselves: weight gain. It's the most immediate thing that we take action about, right? So in the autumn of 2020, we were in, the first kind of full year of the pandemic. I had started gaining weight. And it was one of those things where like everybody was, right? Everybody was talking about how like, oh, we're drinking more. And, I was homeschool. I was in charge of the homeschool, or like the virtual school at our house. So we have the kids 50% of the time. And I was running virtual school for them. So I was ping-ponging between like first and fourth grade. We were high risk. So I was like trying to source all of our groceries and all of our, just everything we needed delivered. To get it delivered, and then to get everything, I was sanitizing everything, bringing it in. I mean, we were like locked down, right? So naturally, being high risk and trying to navigate, my dad's high risk like 4 times over. So like, you're just really worried about a lot of stuff. You're trying to, we had food issues. Like trying to source vegetables was hard. It's actually why I got into gardening. There was a lot going on. So I noticed, one of the things I did immediately to help with the additional stress, and I mean like within a matter of days, is I started working out like a lot more than normal. So normally back then I would be on the Peloton pretty much every day, and usually less than an hour. So I started doing like a lot of endurance challenges. I would go for 2 to 6 hours a day. I was doing like, the Pelafondo, which is 100 miles. I was doing, there was this like anyway, I was just doing all of this stuff to help challenge my body. Also keeping in mind of the fact that I'm not going anywhere, right? So you wanted to get your base metabolism. You want to try to keep it as normal as possible. So I was doing great for the first, maybe, I think 6 months. And then it just sort of, something happened. And I gained what felt like overnight about 7 to 10 pounds. And it's that thing where you kind of think, well, it could have been alcohol. It could have, because, you're drinking more because you're at home, you're not going anywhere, you're stressed out, you're freaked out, all this kind of stuff. I'm like a grade school teacher. I went to school to be a teacher, but not grade school. All of this stuff. And so at first I thought it was that. And I was like, well, you know, what am I going to do about that? Right. So you just do the best you can. But then also keep in mind, it was, so 2020 into 2021. 2021, we had the snowpocalypse here in Texas. So that was in February, I want to say, of 2021. I actually have a vlog of that during it, so I can't remember specifically when because we're all traumatized. But that was super stressful. So then everything that you were doing, now you don't have power and you're cold. Okay, so that was like 10 days of just, yeah, that shit sucked. Okay, so then you've got that, and then my dad had a stroke and was recovering with us in 2018. I had my tummy tuck in September. He had a stroke in October, came lived with us in November. I took him back 2 weeks before we shut down. My plan was to come back to see him in like a couple of weeks, and I never got to. It took me 16 months to get back to hug my dad. So, so I say all of this to kind of contextualize what all was going on in the background and how I was like, well, I could be this, I could be that, right? Like there was a ton going on. So, okay. So by the end of Snowpocalypse, I think I stepped on the scale and I was up 17 pounds. And then we get to, we're moving, and that was so stressful. We basically got kicked out of our house. That's a story for a whole different thing. We were renting a house from friends. It went south, blah, 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 blah. People are shitty. And I think, so that was maybe February to August, another 6 months. I'm up another 10 plus pounds, 10, maybe 15. I mean, this was coming on. It was coming on quick. And I am like 5'4.5", like 5'4", and yeah, by 5'4.5". So like, and the way I'm like, it's just, you don't want that kind of weight on you, right? Like I'm not built for that. And then you get to, oh my God, where was I? 2020, last year, 2022. And we got Duke in October of 2021. So welcome to having a puppy for the first time in like, I think it was 15 years. 2022, Adelaide gets her diagnosis. We get more puppies. I mean, you can see where life, my point in telling you this is just to give you an idea of like the tarmac that I was on, right? Like life keeps going, stress happens, things are outside of your control. And I kept gaining. And it was one of those things where it's like, I'm not eating the whole time, for the record, I'm not eating like a cheesecake a day, which is what the scale looked like I was doing. I wasn't sleeping very well. I started hitting this like wall. I remember like at 2 p.m. I would just hit this wall, and I get up pretty early, and I would puppies are crying. I get up pretty early, and I would wake up, and I would like try to race the clock to 2 p.m. because I knew once 2 p.m. came, I was just like my battery died, and I, for the life of me, couldn't get over this hill, right? This 2 p.m. hill, and so I'm trying everything. I'm messing with my diet. I'm trying melatonin. I'm trying this other stuff. I mean, like, you name it, I'm doing it. I'm messing with my alcohol consumption. I'm messing with my protein. I'm messing with exercise routines. I'm trying to go outside barefoot in the ground and look up at the sun when it's the right shade or the sky. And I mean, like all of the things. And it got to the point where I went into my first former primary care, and she just told me to lose some weight. I told her, like, basically, for context, I was like, something is wrong. The internet says it's hormonal. Can you run like a full hormone panel on me? And she's like, yeah, sure. And she was like, yeah, you need to lose like 10, 20 pounds. I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying, boss, but like, it's tough. And so, So she gives me a hormone panel back and said I'm fine. And I just was, and I waited, I remember this, I waited like 8 months to get in with her because of some stupid schedule thing she had. I was so pissed. To be treated like that after waiting that long, because it's like, that's like a significant amount of time that you could have really done something with, you know? So then I spoke to a different doctor who kind of said the same thing and was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to navigate, and honestly, you're a little bit early for menopause. So, you know, maybe it's your stress. Like, have you considered your stress? And I was like, my dude, I need to explain to you that my stress level is not something that I can really control. Because what triggers my stress are things that I don't get to decide. So like, that's not helpful. You know what I mean? Like, we have to give me tangible options and solutions. And then so then I was concerned, maybe it's my cortisol. And then you hear all this stuff about how it's cortisol with stomach fat and da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, then I was talking to our cousin who's a doctor, and she told me if it's hormones, nobody knows what they're talking about. And she's like, family. So I was like, well, that's great. So that brings me to November 2022. It is the beginning of the month, and I go into my med spa to get Botox, and I'm talking to my injectionist, and I, at this point, my hypothesis, I'd done enough research and I was getting enough like dead ends that my hypothesis that it's hormonal, but I don't know enough about hormones. And when you start learning about hormones, it's a whole shit show, right? Because it's like kind of like a different language. It's a spider web, and everything's connected, but everything's different. Everything has their own thing, but yet like this could also do this, but da-da-da-da, and you're just like, whoa. So I went in and I said, please tell me and I've known her for a long time. I love her. The girl she's my injection, she's a fantastic nurse. I said, please tell me you have some sort of solution for hormonal weight gain. And she goes, oh girl, welcome to the club. And we have a long conversation about everything. And she winds up putting me on semaglutide and then telling me, like, you need to find a hormone specialist. Like, don't listen to anybody else. You need to find somebody who's actually dedicated their practice to hormones. And I said, well, that's like finding a needle in a haystack. And she's like, I know. And she's like, I can give you somebody, but I honestly don't really recommend them for you. And that's kind of all I know. So, you know, she goes, but I'll keep my ear to the ground. I said, cool, thanks. So I wind up getting on semaglutide. I lose about 15 pounds in the first 8 weeks. And I basically lost the bloat and the discomfort and that stretched out feeling. Like, that's what it was. I was so uncomfortable and so like, I mean, I would fast. Like, if we didn't have the kids, I would straight up fast because I was just trying to get myself to feel a little bit more in my own skin. I was just so like maxed out of my skin. It hated it. So, and this is like every day. My sleep is shit. I'm having a hard time falling asleep. I'm having a hard time staying asleep. I actually had said to my former primary care when she asked me that, and she's like, yeah, that's just part of being a woman. And I just like, you know, when you just kind of are like, what a dog shit response. Because 50% of the population are women. So you're just telling me that 50% of the population is functioning off of like just crap sleep every day, which impacts your ability to like emotionally regulate and impacts your digestive system and impacts your immune system, like everything, right? It's all connected. And then we get to, I go in, this is in a semaglutide. I think it's the second semaglutide video I did, or second set of 8 weeks video I did. I go into the med spa to get my shot, and I had gone, it was this one morning, I had just appointments all morning. So it was at the dentist, and it was to the point where I was like crying. I think I'd been crying every day at that point for about maybe a year, maybe a little bit more. I'll go with a year, you know, just to keep it tied up. So at this point with me, my symptoms are having a hard time falling asleep, staying asleep, gaining weight at like a crazy amount of weight gain, no diet. And I mean, I'm sort of all over the place. I'm sorry. I'm just like, as I'm talking, it's like, and I actually try to keep notes on this, but it's just been too long. Like, I'm starting this video 2.5 years after I started the thing. So give me some grace. I'm sorry. But I was a vegetarian or a pescatarian or a vegan. I was some sort of that for 20 years. And I went back to eating meat, trying to fix this, right? Like I was asking people, I was asking everyone. I was talking to everyone. What could this be? How can I fix it? What do I do? What worked for you? Who do you know? I mean, all hands on deck, right? So I finally I'm at the med spa, and I think it's like either the second to last or the last shot of that time. And I had gone to the dentist, and I had cried at the dentist that morning. And because when they're like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, hey, good, I'm all right, how are you? And I said to her, I was like, hey, so the dental tech that was working on me, I was just like, I was so tired, I'm so frustrated, blah, blah, blah. And I'm in for like a cleaning, and she's like, and we're talking about it, and I was like, God, we're basically talking about how hard it is to get this taken seriously. And I told her, like, it is just in like the casual research I had been doing, trying to solve my own problems and like put like words to it. And it's so all over the place, right? Until you actually have somebody tell you, like, you think you've got like 25 different things. And she's just like, oh yeah, no, I know. And she goes, you can get gingivitis, like female hormone gingivitis. Like there's such a thing as gestational gingivitis. And then when your hormones go off a cliff after you have a baby, you can get gingivitis. So you actually can get gingivitis at different points in your life based on your hormones. And I was like, and I'm like, why have I never heard this before? And she was like, yeah, like this is why you gotta have women in the room. Women that are like okay with being a woman, because that's a thing. And I just got in my car, and I don't have gingivitis, right? Like, but we're just talking about it, and I get in the car, and I'm just like, you just feel like you're going up the steepest hill without a map. And it's just like, am I supposed to turn? Is it supposed to be this tough? Is there like an easier way I can get there? Like, does it have to kill me? And I go into the med spa, and I go to the bathroom. When you're staring in the mirror, you're not really looking at yourself, but you got that 1,000-yard stare. I was doing that. And I'm just in my head talking to myself, right? And this woman that works at the med spa, who I love, comes in, and she's like, how you doing? Are you okay? And at that point, I am just so desperate. I was so past the point of like normal for so long. And I just was I'm like, there is no way you can, like, we're not supposed to live like this, right? I'm just emotional. I'm ragey. I had said to my OB-GYN 2021. Was that right? It was whenever I could go in. And I was like, she's like, how you doing? I was like, I'm just raging. And she's like, that's every woman I talk to all day anymore. And I think about that every once in a while, where it's like, I wonder how many of us got pushed in hormonally into this kind of boat. Anyway, so I just was like, I can't, I don't know what's going on. Like she's like, what do you feel? And I said, I'm not like a binary kind of person. And I don't have emotions anymore. I have the extremes. And it's not, I know myself. I am not like that. I'm not somebody who just goes to 10. I run hot because I'm a type A and I'm trying to get shit done. But I'm like capable of like emotional regulation. And, the things that kind of bypass my fuse, right? That like I've got a long fuse, but the things that bypass it, they're like animal cruelty, disrespect, and lack of gratitude. And when I tell you, I was straight up raging, or I was exhausted, or I was like I would get so sentimental, and I would just start crying, like friggin' Instagram videos where the like dogs get reunited or some shit. And I was like, this is exhausting to live like this. And I keep gaining weight, and I can't get any real good sleep for extended period. And it was to the point where I was I would be up, and then I would finally, occasionally get to take a nap. I remember this one day, Jeremy came in and woke me up. I mean, like, you gotta keep in mind, I got 3 fucking dogs. I got 3 cowboy corgis. I got the most dramatic ass dogs ever. They whine constantly. It sucks. I love them, but Jesus. And everybody was quiet, and he walked in and woke me up to help him, and I could have killed him. I was like, are you fucking crazy? And he's like, I'm really sorry. I just need to get this done. And I was like, I want to punch you in the throat right now. Because I'm not going to be like, that was the thing with men. And that was the thing that made me so pissed too. It was like, you don't understand. I can't get that back. That just, it's not like a carousel. It's not coming back around, man. That shit is gone. And I was so pissed. And then I would be pissed for like 3 days. So like the kids would do something stupid. 3 days later, you're still mad about it. And like I tell you, as a parent, you're not supposed to do that. That shit is rinse and repeat. You move on. You keep it moving. They're kids. They don't know. They have to learn, right? If you keep staying mad at them, that's a trauma. You don't want to get on that board. So I'm just at my limit. I'm way past my limit, really. And so I'm talking to her, and she goes, "Yeah, I know. Have you had your hormones checked?" I said, "Supposedly, but I don't believe them." And she goes, "They tell you're in the normal ranges?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "I'm going to give you my guy." And just then I pull my phone out and she types it into my phone. I get home and I'm crying. It was a 4th time. I think I was home at 11:30. It was the 4th time that day I cried. And Jeremy walks in and he's like, I'm like, I got a doctor. I'm going to call. And I just was like, I cannot fucking live like this anymore. I'm so sick of people telling you, oh, it's this or it's that or it's whatever. And it's like, no, it's not, because I know myself and I know how I handle that. And that's not what this is. So I called in that day. I got in. It was that week. I got in that Friday. And then I had to go get my labs done fasted. So I got my labs done. I went to a place that was open Saturday mornings. I got that done the next day. The next Wednesday, I went back in and I had my diagnosis. I paid, which is, they're functional medicine, so they don't take insurance, which is, it's a whole other thing, which I'm happy to talk about because my God, it pisses me off. And anyway, so I go in and I get my diagnosis, and I tell you, in 15 minutes, I felt like a new woman because I had words. I had language. I had a terminology. I knew what it was now, and I could go do something about it. I knew what to Google. I knew, yeah, you know what I mean? I had a framework a little bit. And so I got diagnosed with perimenopause, low thyroid, and low testosterone. And what he said to me was, at 30, he's like, I'm 37 years old, I'll be 38 this year. And so he's like, you are right on track. He's like, everyone says like perimenopause is in your early 40s. He's like, not really. Like, yeah, but typically you start sooner. And what he told me was, likelihood is you actually have PCOS, but I have a Marina. And he goes, you probably have PCOS. So, which means you have high testosterone. So for you, it went from high to low. So it felt like you just went off this cliff. Because I checked all the boxes of like, well, I used to be this way, and these are the things I was feeling. So like extreme fatigue, I couldn't work out the way I used to. I didn't have the strength that I used to. I run cold. My body temperature was a little low. There was just a ton of stuff. There was a ton. I think I checked there were 2 key things I didn't check, which was hair loss and libido. And he's like, honestly, the fact that you didn't check those is great for you. And he goes, considering everything else you checked. But so I guess that's a win, right? But anyway, so I went home and I got they like mail order your meds to you. So I got those going and I just started Googling, right? Like, okay, what do I do? How do you eat to your hormones? What's that look like for you? And this is like a long-term, like, it's basically like I've decided to do a dissertation without any credit for it, with how much I'm trying to learn. And there was a ton to do with like, hey, did you know your sense of agency, like your actual ability to take risk and be confident in a room, things that you used to do, that's impacted by low testosterone? Hey, did you know that you, essentially what's happening is that your ovaries are dying. and you literally outlive an organ. So all of this stuff is impacted by it, right? And with that, you need HRT. So then I'm Googling, well, how come there are more women on HRT? Like, what the hell? What's going on? Da, 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 da. Like, I've only heard of like Suzanne Summers, right? And so then you find out, oh, there was this study done by the NIH. And essentially in the 1950s, they had put women on estrogen. But then what happens is you have estrogen and you have progesterone. So what they were doing is when you do the estrogen and your uterine lining thickens, and then the progesterone happens and it thins again, right? So if they were just on estrogen, they were getting uterine cancer because they didn't have the thinning. So then you had cell dysplasia and it would get to the point of cancer. So then by the 70s, they were doing estrogen and progesterone, and they were doing that until the 90s. And the 90s came and the NIH was like, yo, we need to like do a study on this because I feel like we're just kind of like chill with this. And I have this whole like opinion on this with just not like men, but the patriarchy in general, because it's like really fucked up that this is the approach they took. So they wanted a study with a hard outcome with death. So could this impact your death? Is this a factor of death? And what they did was they took women, they took let me save this because this is like a 10-minute part of this video. Google that and Google like Dr. Sarah Gottfried or somebody that's like good, not like super biased. Google like a medical professional on it because or Dr. Barbie Taylor also talks about it. It's bananas what happened. So there was an 85% cliff that like 85% of people just went off of it because of a lie, essentially, because of a false headline. And then they just haven't picked it back up. So now they're trying to explain, well, the thing is, if you're not on some form of HRT after you're experiencing these symptoms, this is what those symptoms actually mean for you. And if you're not on it, your neuro health in general, like all of it is impacted. So if you're not on things to help like the right hormones to manage you, right? You're walking into Alzheimer's, you're walking into cardiac issues, heart disease, you're walking into osteoporosis, more likely to have bone density issues, more likely to have hip replacements, all that kind of stuff. That's all all of that is massively, massively, massively impacted by our female hormones. Why the fuck we don't get told this, I don't understand. And it made me, I was like a raging lunatic about this for like a week. I would just get these like mic drop moments where you're just like, what the hell? How do I not know this? And so I'll link I'll link some names and stuff, and I'll give you books and stuff. But Dr. Sarah Gottfried specifically has got a couple of podcasts. I'll try my hardest to link them because she's fantastic and she's like a really good speaker. So, you know what I mean? If you're into that, she's great. But she speaks a lot about like the complexity with female hormones and how like, yeah, well, we also think it's this, and biologically we're programmed to do X. So we would automatically go here instead of here. And then if you're not teaching to women's health, you don't actually know what this is. Like, it's still novel to men that we have different heart attack symptoms. So the fact that we have a 28-day cycle versus the 24-hour cycle that men have, I mean, it's just bananas what the average woman doesn't get told. So I kind of went on this like multi-week just data tornado of, oh my God, you know what I mean? Just like every day I was learning new stuff and trying to figure this out. And like, you actually had to, okay, so this is what perimenopause is. And it can last for up to 20 years and all of this stuff. And it's pretty insane. So that's, at the risk of getting any longer in this video, that's about as authentic of a recap as I can give you. And then to tell you where I'm at now, I just had my 1 month, or I think it's close to like 6 weeks at this point, follow up this week with my doctor. Had my labs done, and he told me, so the recap is, I've been put on, for the record, I've been put on T3, and which is a thyroid, and I've been put on testosterone cream. You can do, there's like different things you can do. Where I go, they do the shots or the cream. I picked the cream because the shots are compounded in a seed oil, and I tend to avoid seed oils. So just worth mentioning. But you just put, I have 2 clicks. I put 2 clicks on, literally it says on a fatty area. So I put it on my inner thighs, every day. And it's like, it's not that bad. It's honestly, it's fine. It takes like a few seconds. But I can tell you, since I've been on it, just in that brief amount of time, I can tell my sleep quality is improved. I can tell my mood range is coming back. I can tell my emotional bounce back is coming back. I can tell my my ability to tackle things, like my actual agency is coming back. My it's just wild how much is coming back. And I'm not 100, but I'm definitely better than I was. I mean, no question. So there's that. When I had my follow up this week, he told me that my testosterone is like perfect. He's like, for where you want to be, you are right in the middle. You are perfect. And then my thyroid can go up more. So we tweaked that prescription. I also got put on vitamin D and K. It's like a D3, K2, maybe I'm wrong. It's in my kitchen. To help, because there's like a ton of benefits for that. And if you take the K with the D, you don't have the kidney stone issue. And then I was put on, if you're on testosterone, you're more likely to get like oily skin, acne, some of that stuff. But you can take, there's different things you can take to help with that. And he put in a prescription for me for that, but I don't have it yet. This was just like a day or 2 ago. So that's where we were. That's where we are now. That's how I'm feeling now. I still have a ways to go. I'm still learning a ton. And I want to share as much as I can. So this is where I'm going to, if you've made it this far, first off, thank you. But secondly, let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what you want to learn about, what I can share, what you're interested in my take on, whatever it is. I can tell you I've done 2 things in addition to the meds that are daily. One is I started taking athletic greens, or I think they changed it to AG1. I started taking that in the morning. So when I take my thyroid pill, it's literally my bedside table. I take it before I get out of bed. Because you have to wait 30 minutes to eat, and I need coffee, and my coffee has calories in it. So 30-minute mark, I take my AG1, and then I take my coffee. And with my now I take with the D and the K thing. So I can walk you through all that kind of stuff in a separate video if you want to see like an actual routine, if you want me to speak to anything else. And especially as I'm learning stuff, there is a world of information out there via podcasts and books and I'm learning it. So how I implement it, if that's of interest to you, I'm happy to share that as I go about it. I'm learning about how to work to your hormones, why you react certain ways, why you're more inward, outward, how your brains work. It is unbelievable to me how much we aren't taught. And I'm not that old. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. It's like, I'm at the age where my kids I have 1 kid in grade school, 1 kid in middle school. I'm technically in the thick of it, but I'm not I'm not wiping butts anymore. Right. But I'm also not like kids in college, or kids grown. So I'm at that age where it's like, I don't see people my age talking about this. And that's where I really think, well, I want to be part of that, because I know how much I look to other women, especially other women that kind of fit my mold a little bit, where, every woman is multifaceted, but like, it's important for me that's one of the reasons why this channel is important to me. It's important to me to encompass as many of those facets as I can. It's important to me to show anybody who's looking for it, like, you're not alone. You can still be this way. You don't have to sacrifice this. Or if you do, this is what that looks like. It's important to me. And I think the documentation of that journey, especially a journey that's so like literally intrinsic to who we are and how we function, is pretty critical. I think we need to have that conversation a lot more often. So like I say with all of these videos that I talk about with my health or with whatever, it's a community, it's a conversation. So please feel free to leave comments below if you have questions, if you want me to answer them, if you've got video ideas that you want me to do, whatever, I'm open. Just be respectful, that's all I ask. Kindness is free. So yeah, but I hope that helps. I'll just leave it at that because I know I'm looking at how long this video is and it scares me because I have to edit it. So again, I just hope this video was helpful and I'll see y'all very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.